Let's practice impressing patterns with your handmade tools. You may only have 2 or 3 tool shapes available, but the variety of patterns you create is limited only to your imagination and the time you spend experimenting with the clay. Consider the following. Consider experimenting with large, medium, and small motifs. Also try experimenting with the depth of your impressions, as well as your spacing, positioning, and direction. Keeping these ideas in mind, here are a few pattern experiments using the triangular end of your tool. Here is an example of stacking motifs. Stacking is when you repeat your motifs to create both horizontal rows and vertical columns. Your motifs are evenly spaced. This is an example of shifting motifs. Shifting is when you offset the next row so that each motif lies one halfway across the motifs located above and below. Other words that are used to describe this brick-like organization of motifs are staggering and overlapping. Here is an example of rotating motifs. Rotating is when you turn the motif on its axis. Rotations you might try are 90-degree and 180-degree rotations. This example uses a 180-degree rotation combined with shifting. Here is an example of layering motifs. Layering is when you increase the complexity of a pattern by introducing an additional repeated motif. Notice how the amount of light and dark values increase as we increase the impressed details. Here are a few examples of patterns using the rounded end of your tool. Remember to consider the size, depth, and spacing of your motifs. You can use one or a combination of stacked, shifted, rotated, and layered motifs. Here's an example of using both ends of a large and small version of your tool. The materials you will need for this assignment are your handmade impressing tools, ruler, knife, 2 pencils, dowel, rib, 3x3-inch template, 1 pound of clay, cloth, and your wire cutter. Step 1. Prepare 2 large slabs. First, cut your 1 pound piece of clay in half. Then, prepare your work surface, spacers, and clay. Finally, use the dowel to roll out 1/2 pound of clay into a slab that is 1/4 inch thick, or the thickness of the spacers located on either side of your slab. Smooth and compress with a rib to create a clean, even canvas for your impressed patterns. Repeat with the other 1/2 pound of clay to end with a total of 2 large slabs. Step 2. 3 square slabs. Cut out 3 square slabs using your 3x3-inch template and ruler. Save the scraps to use for experimenting with your impressed patterns. Lightly spray with water and stack with newspaper in between the slabs before placing in a plastic bag. Put these off to the side for later. Step 3. Experiment with tools and patterns. Use your scrap clay slabs to experiment with your tools. Experiment with the size and depth of your impressions. Also experiment with stacking, shifting, rotating, and layering your impressed motifs as you repeat them to create a variety of patterns. How many different patterns can you create? What happens if you run out of room on your slab? One option is to flip the slab over and continue with your experiments on the other side. Or you may spray your clay with water and wedge it back together. Then roll it out again into a new slab, ready for another round of experiments. Step 4. Best 3 impressed patterns. Choose your 3 best impressed patterns and recreate each on its own 3x3-inch square slab. Since the plastic clay spreads outward away from the impressing tool, you will need to resize each slab using your 3x3-inch template. You may use a ruler as a hard edge to help you cut crisp, clean edges. Repeat the process for your other two patterns. Step 5. Document your work. Document your work. Set up your 3 pattern slabs like you see here in the teacher's example. Include a piece of paper with your name, block, and date. After you take a picture, use a pencil to neatly carve your name in the back of all 3 tiles. Store them in a plastic bag to be turned in during the next project drop-off. I can't wait to see the impressed patterns you create with your handmade tools. Get to claying!